So we meet again, I think after a few months. So now you are in a Dhamma talk series. You are getting ready to go to India as a pilgrimage. So as a preparation program, we are offering you some Dhamma talks. So now I have to do today Dhamma talk. So actually, it's a very good opportunity to learn about the qualities of the Blessed One. That is why we decided to deliver this Dhamma talk series related to the qualities of the Buddha. So here, now you already know so many qualities, especially we discuss about the quality of Arahang, and then Sambuddho, and the Vichacharana Sampanno. I think the Vichacharana Sampanna you could understand by different Dhamma sermons. One for special supreme knowledge of the Buddha, and the other one the conduct of him. And now we have to discuss about the quality of Sugato. I think this is the fourth quality included into the verse. Usually we use Itipiso Bhagava. But yeah, the Sugato is very broad quality. It's a very large amount of details we have to discuss about this quality. So, and also the Sugato, the word Sugato itself is very beautiful word, and also a lot of people those days, monks and lay people, and sometimes even Devas and Brahmas also used this word Sugato to address the Blessed One. It's a very common word to address the Blessed One. Especially, you know the Buddho, Bhagava, and Sugato. It's a very common and very nice word to address the Blessed One. Now we are going to talk about that quality. The topic of my Dhamma talk is the Bodhisatta's determination, great determination and sacrifice. The Bodhisatta's great determination and sacrifice. I have to cover the quality of Sugato. So I would like to explain about the quality of Sugato, then we can go to the topic. Anyway, let's go. What is the meaning of the word Sugato? Actually, first we will discuss about the literal meaning of this word, Sugato. When we say Sugato, there are two words. First part is Su, the other one is Gato. Su is an indeclinable word. It's like a preposition. It means, it emphasizes the well, good, and correct, and thoroughly, something like that. It emphasizes and increases the value of which one is combined with together. So if you add Su in front of one word, it increases the value of that word. Now you know the first part is Su. What is the meaning of that? It is emphasized. It means the well, good, and happily, and something like that. Then the second part is Gato. Gato is a past participle. It comes from a word. The word is Gacchati. The root is Gamu. The meaning is go or goes. So gone means has gone, the past participle of go. Has or have gone. Or moved. We can say moved, walked, or reached. Yeah, different meanings we can say. So then when we combine the meanings together, Sugato means has gone well, or has gone properly, and has gone correctly. Yeah. Then we can go to the Buddha. The Blessed One has gone to his goal correctly, properly, nicely, perfectly. Therefore, the Buddha is Sugato. And we generally say accomplished one. Accomplished one. Why? He already reached his goal and he came to his destination. therefore he accomplished one. He is an accomplished one, Sugato. And if someone reached his goal, it means he is very fortunate one. Therefore the Buddha is fortunate one. In that sense, we call Sugato like fortunate one. When you go to translations, different translations, you can see sometimes accomplished one, or fortunate one, or well gone. We can see these different kind of interpretations. Anyway, this is the literal meaning of the word of Sugato. Then we go to the deep meanings given in commentary. So in commentary we can see different interpretations and different definitions given to this word Sugato. There are 4 different definitions given in commentary. It's very important, that is why I would like to explain that. First one is Sobana Gamanattati Sugato, the Blessed One's journey. Gamana means journey or walk. His journey is Sobana. Sobana means beautiful, pleasant, nice. The Buddha's journey is very beautiful. Sobana Gamanattati Sugato. Therefore, he is Sugato. The journey means here, as a Bodhisatta, he reached his goal by practicing Dhamma. This Dhamma journey, we call that Gamana, that journey. This journey is very beautiful and peaceful. Therefore, he calls Sugato. The second definition given in the commentary, Sundaran Tahanang Gatatta Itipi Sugato. The Buddha has gone. Gatatta, now you know the meaning of Gata. Gata means has gone. The Buddha has gone to Sundaran Tahanang. Sundaran Tahanang means the beautiful place, pleasant place. What is the pleasant place? The only pleasant place is Nibbana. That is the only pleasant place. So the Blessed One reached and he went, he has gone to the Nibbana. Therefore, he is Sugato. He is called Sugato. Sundaran Thanang Gatatta iti Sugato. The third definition is Samma Gatatta iti Sugato. Samma Gatatta. Samma is also very important word. It has a lot of meanings. Samma means something has done correctly, properly, completely, fully, totally. That is the meaning of Samma. Samma Gatatta means he has gone correctly, properly, completely, thoroughly, fully, totally. He has gone. Where he has gone? He has gone to his destination. The journey is beautiful in one side, in other side it's very correct and proper and also entirely complete. Therefore he called as Sugato. Then the fourth definition given in the commentary is also very important. Samma Gadatta itipi Sugato. The third one I told you, Samma Gatatta itipi Sugato, but the fourth one is Samma Gadatta itipi Sugato. Samma is the same, correctly, properly, totally, fully. Samma is the same meaning, but here not Gatatta but Gadatta. Gadatta means spoken, has told, has taught, has expounded. Gadatta. The Blessed One has expounded the Dhamma correctly, properly, entirely, totally. Therefore he is Sugato. So now you know what is the meaning of Sugato. with broad interpretation. So it's very important to know what is the clear meaning of this quality. Then, shall we pay more attention to his Dhamma journey? How he went this journey, how he has gone this Dhamma journey. When you go through this Dhamma journey, when you go to understand this Dhamma journey, how the Blessed One did his experiment, did his investigation in his life, how he did it, we have to understand that. We have to pay more attention for that. Then we can go to the Bodhisatta's life. That is why we made this topic as the Bodhisatta's great determination and sacrifice. Then we can talk about that, how the Bodhisatta did his sacrifice. To understand this, I would like to bring up one sutta from Majjhima Nikaya. The sutta number is 26. The name is Ariya Pariyesana Sutta. Ariya Pariyesana Sutta. Ariya Pariyesana Sutta, the noble search. The noble search. Shall we go to the sutta? It is very important sutta. Very nice. I like it very much. So, in Ariya Pariyesana Sutta, in the beginning, the origin story, I will say something. At those days, the Buddha was dwelling at Savatthi. A number of bhikkhus approached to Venerable Ananda at that time, and they asked to Venerable Ananda, after a long time we could not hear some Dhamma from the Buddha, so if we have an opportunity to listen to the Buddha Dhamma talk, it would be very beautiful, it would be very good, it's better. So then Venerable Ananda replied them, then my friend, it is better to go to Rammaka's hermitage. There is another hermitage nearby. It calls Rammaka hermitage. It is better to go there in the evening. I will invite to the Blessed One to go there and give you a Dhamma talk. So then they went to that place, and the Buddha, after his meal, he had some rest and secluded place. And in the evening, the Blessed One himself, he asked to Venerable Ananda to go to have a bath in eastern bathing place in Savatthi. When you go to Savatthi, you can see those places. So then, the Blessed One went with Venerable Ananda and had a bath. Having bath, he was drying his limbs on the sun. At that moment, Venerable Ananda approached the Blessed One and invited him to go to Rammaka's hermitage and give a Dhamma talk for that monks. I think then you might think, why we are going to this kind of small details? Why we need to listen to these small details? Because Buddha went to the eastern bathing place and he had a bath and he was drying his limbs. What we are talking about these things, why we don't go to directly to the point? Sometimes you might think so. Actually, I would like to say that if we go through these details, we can see how the Blessed One dwelling at that time. Now we are having that experience, but we are imagining, but its live incidents happened on that days. So when you go to India, you can feel that live experience, that impression towards the Buddha if you go through these details. That is why I would like to present you these even small details. Don't worry about that. I think you can understand. Anyway, let's move. Then the Blessed One went to the Rammaka's hermitage to give a Dhamma talk for that monks. When he went there, the monks already discussing something, some Dhamma discussion. They were involved in some Dhamma discussion. But the door was already closed. So the Buddha stood outside of the door until they finished their Dhamma discussion. So when they finished their Dhamma discussion, the Blessed One knocked the door and coughed, and then they opened the door, then the Buddha entered to the Dhamma hall and sat. Here also you can see some special quality of the Blessed One. You know, these monks, all that monks are disciples of the Buddha. So the Buddha is the teacher of them. Even though he did not enter to the Dhamma hall directly, he could do, but he did not do so. Why? They were talking about the Dhamma. So the Buddha gave the priority to Dhamma. So even the Buddha gave the priority for the Dhamma. So here you can learn something important. And also, how humble was him, the Buddha himself. He could go inside, but he did not do so. He stayed until they finished their Dhamma discussion. Learn something, because we are talking about the qualities of the Buddha. We can learn so many things from those small incidents even. Then the Blessed One sat down and he asked, what were you talking about? Then they replied, Bhante, we were talking about yourself. We were talking about your sacrifice. So then at the moment, the Buddha gave one very important advice. Sannipatitanang wo bhikkhave dvayang karaniya. Whenever you gather together, there are two things you should do. What are those? Dhammiva katha ariyova tunhi bhavo. Either engage in Dhamma talk or keep the noble silent. This is the one we had to do, we should do as monks, especially as monks. But I think as Buddhists, even lay people, you can learn this and you can practice this. Whenever you gather together, usually we do so many idle chatters. But it is better to, whenever you gather together as Buddhists, it is better to involve in a Dhamma talk. Something related to Dhamma, something related to your practice. Something can be helpful to develop your insights. So therefore it is better to keep in mind this. Whenever you go to India, you are as a group, you are going as a group. So it is better to, whenever you gather together, it is better to do Dhamma discussions rather than doing idle chatters. So anyway, then the Buddha explained to them how I did my search. This is the topic, Ariya Pariyesana Sutta. In the beginning, he explained, Bhikkhu, Dema Bhikkave Pariyesana. Monks, bhikkhus, there are two kinds of search. Ariyacha Pariyesana, Anariyacha Pariyesana. The one is noble search, the other one is the ignoble search. Noble search and the ignoble search. Here the Buddha said, first, what is the ignoble search? Now we are talking about the quality of Sugato. It means how the Buddha well gone, he was well gone, he was the one who was well gone. Then how he has gone, he gone through this search. What is this search? Ariya Pariyesana, the noble search. First he explained about Anariya Pariyesana. Anariya Pariyesana. Anariya Pariyesana means the ignoble search. Then the Buddha said, Katamacha Bhikkave Anariya Pariyesana. What is the ignoble search? Idekacho Attanava Jati Dhammo Samano. Here someone, Attanava Jati Dhammo Samano, being himself subject to birth, Jati Dhammanyeva Pariyesati, seeks what is also subject to birth. Search or seeks what is also subject to birth. Being himself subject to birth, seeks what is also subject to birth. Attanava Jara Dhammo Samano, Jara Dhammanyeva Pariyesati. being himself subject to aging, seeks what is also subject to aging. If something is subject to aging, you know it doesn't give us some pleasant. It always changing. And then the Buddha explained further. Attanava vyadi dhammo samano vyadi dhammanyeva pariyesati. Having being himself subject to sickness, he seeks what is also subject to sickness. Attanava marana dhammo samano marana dhammanyeva pariyesati. Having being himself subject to death, he seeks what is also subject to death. Attanava soka dhammo samano soka dhammanyeva pariyesati. Having being himself subject to sorrow, he seeks what is also subject to sorrow. Attanava sankilesa dhammo samano sankilesa dhammanyeva pariyesati. Having being himself subject to defilement, he seeks what is also subject to defilement. So here you can see, having being himself subject to birth, he seeks what is also subject to birth. And also same as aging, sickness, death, sorrow and lamentation and defilement. And then the Buddha said, what is Katamacha bhikkhave jati dhammo vadeta? What may be said to be subject to birth? Then he gave a list of things are subject to birth. It's important. I will say in English, wife and children are subject to birth. Started with wife and children. And then again he explained, goats and sheep are subject to birth. And fowl and pigs subject to birth. And also gold and silver subject to birth. Elephants, cattle, horses, mares are subject to birth. According to those days, the Blessed One mentioned, what are the people searching for? The things, those are subject to birth. And also, whenever something people have gained, those things are subject to birth, especially. So then, and also he explained further, because of these things, people gathito, tied up with those things. Nowadays, when we think about nowadays, in recent years, in this present time, we can say the wife and children and wealth and vehicles, houses, lands, money, gold and silver, those things, so many things people are tied up with. And also, not only that, Muchito means because of those things became unconscious sometimes. Because of those things people became unconscious, fainted, and also infatuated because of those things. That is why the Buddha said, we are searching those things, we are searching for those things, but those things are subject to birth, subject to aging, subject to sickness, subject to death, subject to sorrow, subject to defilement. If we do something like that, can we say this one is something, a noble search? So it's not a noble search, it's ignoble search. Then the Buddha said, I am bhikkhave anariya pariyesana. This is bhikkhu, this is monk, the ignoble search. We cannot admire this search. When we think honestly, in our day-to-day life, what we are searching for? Usually we are searching for the things that are subject to birth, subject to aging. They have this condition, these qualities. That is why we are always being suffered. And then, when we think about our parents, in general, many of our parents also did the same research, same search. When we think about our ancestors, most of them did this search. They did the ignoble search. Always we are searching for the happiness. We are searching for happiness, but to get happiness, we are searching for these kind of things what are subject to birth, subject to aging, subject to death, subject to sickness, subject to sorrow, subject to defilement. So if we use these things to get happiness, but when they become aging and death and sorrow and lamentation and defiled, then we become more suffer. Therefore, we cannot admire this searching as a noble search. Then the Buddha said, this is the ignoble search. Then he explained what is the noble search. Then he told, I will say in English because if I say in Pali also, then it takes much time. We have some limited time. And also it is raining here. You can hear, I think. Anyway, let's go. Let's see. Then the Buddha said, what is the noble search? Here someone, being himself subject to birth and subject to aging and sickness and sorrow, but he sees the danger of being this subject to birth, the danger in subject to aging. He noticed the danger in subject to sorrow, subject to defilement. And then his search for something is unborn, not subject to birth, unborn. If something is not subject to aging, he's searching for something is not subject to sickness. He's seeking for something is not subject to death, deathless, sorrowless. Then what is the thing? The only thing is Nibbana, the cessation of dukkha. That is the only thing. It is not subject to birth or subject to aging or subject to dukkha. In general, that is the only thing that is not subject to dukkha, not subject to suffering. So here the Buddha said, the supreme security of bondage, that is Nibbana. If someone searching for the Nibbana, searching for the cessation of dukkha, then it is called noble search. Therefore the Buddha did this noble search. Then we go to the Prince Siddhartha's time. When he was Prince Siddhartha living in the palace, he also used luxurious living things. So many wealth he had. So the Buddha himself said, when I was a lay person, when I was a Bodhisatta, Bodhisatta means who is going to become a Buddha, as a lay person in that time, he was also did this ignoble search. He himself said, I did the ignoble search. But then I realized, what is the meaning of this life? Why am I doing this ignoble search? This is not the way. What should I practice? Then he turned his mind. That is the turning point of the Bodhisatta. He turned his mind. Why I do not search something is not subject to aging. So then he realized, if I want to search something is not subject to birth, not subject to aging, not subject to death, then I cannot do it in this palace. I have to leave this palace. Then he left the palace for the sake of liberation, to do this noble search. So here you can see how he did it. You know, when he was at the age of 29, he left the palace. when his father and mother was crying, they were crying full with tear of eyes, and then he left the palace, he left all the facilities and go to the forest. He had a determination, I should search, I should see what is not subject to birth. That is the Nibbana. But he did not know what is Nibbana is. He did his investigation. He started his investigation. It calls King Kusala Gavesi. The theme of his investigation is what is wholesome. King Kusala Gavesi. What is wholesome? What is wholesome? Interesting. So then he left the palace, and first he went to Āyasmā. Āyasmā was a very famous teacher those days in India. He was talking about the base of nothingness. And the Bodhisatta, he approached him and he listened to him very much carefully. When he listened to him very carefully, he could understand what he is saying. Then very easily he could understand, and after few days he could enter upon and abide in that jhana stage, the formless attainment. It calls Akinchanyayatana, the base of nothingness. It's a very subtle, formless attainment. Then he approached to Āyasmā and said his attainment. And then he was very happy, very glad about that. Here also we can learn something from the Bodhisatta's qualities. Because he listened to his teacher very much. At the moment he listened to Āyasmā about to learn his outlook about the base of nothingness, and after listening he understood what is the meaning, what is the essence of this. So why he could listen very much, very carefully, he had no any other ideas in his mind. He just go to search what is wholesome. What is the destination? Where should I go? He went to his teacher and asked, and he listened very carefully and practiced. After few days, he reached that goal. After reaching that goal, the teacher was very happy, because teachers usually happy about their disciples' progress, because teachers usually they have mudita, the empathetic joy, the mudita. Therefore he was happy, the Āyasmā was happy, very happy. So then he invited him, oh, now you are same as me. What I know that you know. What you know that I know. So you and me are very same. So then you can become a teacher of my school, my hermitage. So then he invited him to become a teacher in that place. Then the Bodhisatta thought, oh, this mental state is not permanent. This should not be subject to birth. This is not this does not lead to disenchantment. This does not lead to dispassion. This does not lead to liberation, the cessation of all mass of suffering. This just leads to reappearance in the base of nothingness. So this is not my destination. So he did not satisfied with that attainment. This one is a very important quality we have to learn. If someone satisfied with the simple thing, they cannot achieve something more than that. So we stop our journey if we satisfy with something is smaller. But here the Akinchanyayatana, the mental state is not a simple thing, it is a very subtle thing. But he achieved that very easily because he He's very clever, he's genius. So then he could understand, but he did not satisfied with that mental state, and he left the teacher for the sake of liberation to do his search, the noble search. What is also? He did not satisfied with Akinchanyayatana. So here you can see how he did it. So then he approached to Ramaputta Uddaka. Ramaputta Uddaka, as usual, it happened at the same way. He explained about the Neva Sanya Nasanyayatana. It means neither perception nor non-perception. And the Bodhisatta also did it within few days he could attain that attainment, formless attainment, and also he left that place and he did a lot of sacrifice for the sake of liberation afterward in Uruvela. When you go to India, you can see. I think now you can see the picture. I would like to share some picture with you. How he did his sacrifice. Amazing sacrifice. He did an amazing sacrifice. You can get some details about this sacrifice from the sutta in Majjhima Nikaya 85 sutta. That the sutta name is Bodhirajakumara Sutta. Majjhima Nikaya 85. At the time the Buddha said, I clenched my teeth and pressed my tongue against the roof of my mouth. When he did this sacrifice, his practice, he did so. And it was very painful. Because of that practice, sweat ran from my armpits. And also then he explained how he did his sacrifice. Then you can understand why I put this image to see. When he did his sacrifice, he practiced breathing-less meditation, Appanaka Jhana, the breathing-less meditation. When he did his breathing-less meditation, he stopped his in-breath and out-breaths totally, from the mouth and from the nose. When he stopped his in-breaths and out-breaths, he told that I felt a bad, loud noise from my ears. I heard a loud noise is coming out from my ear holes. And also it was very painful. It was so painful. But at the moment, my mind was still my mindfulness was still so strong. And the effort also was strong. But my body was not so good. And then he explained about how he felt at the moment by doing this Appanaka Jhana. Appanaka Jhana means breathing-less meditation. And then he explained this. I don't go to all the details because if you like, I think I invite you to go to that sutta, the Bodhirajakumara Sutta, MN 85. It gives you very good details about his sacrifice. But now I know I don't have much time, so I will go fast. And then he started fasting. He cutting off entirely food. That is why I put this image. Then you can see when he start fasting, he did not eat much. Gradually he reduced his food until he just ate only some soup, only some water, sometimes even no water. When he starving at the moment, his body was so emaciation. So it was very thin. He was very weak at the moment. So, but he did not give up his determination. That is why the Bodhisatta's determination, how much strong his determination. Here you can see how much strong his determination. He started this fasting sometimes when he touched his belly skin, he encountered his backbone. When he touched his backbone, he encountered his belly skin. So there is no in his belly. It was entirely thin. So he was very weak. Sometimes when he defecated or urinated, he fallen down. So some people thought he died already. Some people thought he is dying. Even though he is alive, he did not die. Because without completing his target, he cannot die. Because he is a Sugato. Then, afterward, he gave up this self-deprivation. And then, he thought, after doing this kind of sacrifice, this is amazing sacrifice, because even in this world, whenever a renunciant or Brahmin in the past experienced this kind of feeling due to exhaustion, this is the utmost. There is nothing beyond this. By this practice of austerities, but he could not attain any attainment. So then he realized this is not the path. Then he was thinking, what would be the path? There should be another path. But I don't know what is that path. That was his searching. But finally, eventually, he could recall in his childhood, one day, he was with his father. There was a ceremony of plantation in Kapilavatthu. When you go to Kapilavatthu, you can recall these things. Then, the Bodhisatta, when he was a very little child, he was sitting on the floor, crossed his leg, and he just did Ānapanasati for a while. By doing this practice, immediately he could attain to the first jhana. At that moment, he recalled that previous experience. Then he was thinking, that could be the way to the liberation. Then he investigated again and again. Then he made a determination, yes, definitely, indeed, this should be the way to the liberation. So then he recognized that is the way to the liberation. By hurting myself, I cannot attain to the Nibbana at all. So then he gave up that unnecessary austerities, and then he started to have some solid food. Because without a strong body, he cannot attain to the jhanas again. So then he started having some solid food. When he started having some solid food, the group of 5 bhikkhus, those days they were around him, but they left him, disgusted him. Oh, the Siddhartha gave up his determination. But actually he understood what is the real path for the liberation. After having some food, he regained his strength, and he put into the practice in the Uruela, and in the Vesak full moon Poya day, under the Bodhi tree, he did his determination. That is the great determination. So now I came to the topic, because the topic is the Bodhisatta's great determination. What is that determination? I would like to explain in Pali and English also. Kāmaṃ tacoca naharuca atthīca avasissatu sarīre upasussatu mansa lohitaṃ. Willingly let only the skin and the sinews and bones remain. Willingly let only skin and sinews and bone remains. Sarire upasissatu mansa lohitaṃ, and let the blood and flesh dry up in this body. So let the flesh and blood to dry up in this body. But I will not relax my energy. So long as I have not attained what can be attained by manly strength, by manly energy, by manly exhaustion. So this source is great determination. I will repeat it. Willingly, let only my skin, sinews and bones remain, and let the flesh and blood dry up in my body, but I will not relax my energy so long as I have not attained what can be attained by manly strength, manly energy and manly exhaustion. So this source is great determination under the Bodhi tree. And by doing this, afterward, he entered the jhanas, and from jhanas he did his investigation, and finally, eventually, he became an enlightened one. So by doing the sacrifice and by doing this determination, he reached his goal, he achieved his goal. That is very peaceful path, that is very entirely pure path, therefore he is Sugato. So that is why we call him Sugato. Now you can see how the Buddha came and he completed his noble search. Not only for the sake of his own liberation, but also for the sake of the liberation of everybody. Now you can see from that suttas, and also you can get so many details from Majjhima Nikaya 12. The sutta name is Mahasihanada Sutta. That's also very important sutta. When you go to that suttas, you can see so many details about the Bodhisatta's sacrifice. Why we want to learn this sacrifice, about these details? If you know someone has done some sacrifice, about that if you know, then you know the value of that. When you hear the Dhamma, you know the value of that. Why? To give this Dhamma, how much effort has to be put into the practice by the Bodhisatta. It's amazing sacrifice. So if you know that, you can devote it to the Buddha from your bottom of the heart. So therefore, if you know that, it is very important to know these details. So now we have no much time. So then I think it is better to go to the Q&A session. So finally, I would like to say, if you want to follow the Bodhisatta, think about yourself. Think about ourselves honestly. And think about the search, what we are doing. Is that an ignoble search or a noble search? If you want to get something is not subject to birth, something is not subject to aging, something is not subject to sickness or death, or not subject to sorrow, or not subject to defilement, it should be definitely the Nibbana. So we should start the noble search for that. If you know this, then you can give the priority for the spiritual developments rather than give the priority for the other worldly things. So as Buddhists, we should start and practice our noble search. I would like to invite and encourage you in this noble search, and we can pay homage to the Buddha, to the Sugato, one who has gone and completed his goal. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now, up to you. If you have any questions about this Dhamma talk or something else, you can ask. I will try to give you some answers. Okay.
What would Bhante say is the greatest of all the sacrifices that the Bodhisatta made?
Yeah, very good question. Actually, I can go back to his previous life, but I did not mention here. You can see when he was ascetic practitioner in Sumedha Bodhisatta style, as a Sumedha Bodhisatta in Dipankara Buddha style. I think you know about the story. Before, very, very long times ago, there was another Buddha, his name was Dipankara. The Dipankara Buddha's time, our Bodhisatta, his name was Sumedha. He was an ascetic practitioner. At that time, he could understand the Dhamma and he could liberate, he could attain to the Nibbana as an Arhat under that Buddha. But at that time, he gave up that opportunity for the sake of liberation, to make the liberation for the lot of people, for us. So he gave up that opportunity. What that opportunity? To end this whole mass of suffering. But he gave up that opportunity. Think for a moment, can someone do this kind of opportunity, sacrifice? I don't think it is. It's not the easy thing. I think that is the greatest sacrifice he has done. But I did not mention here in my Dhamma talk. But it touched my heart when I heard that before. So I think that is the greatest sacrifice according to my idea. That is my opinion. But yeah, you can see a lot of times how he did his sacrifice. That is the one I touch. That is the one touched my heart. I would like to share it. Yes.
Is it true that the Bodhisatta in a previous life even sacrificed his wife and child to another man? How can this be considered wise and wholesome?
Oh yeah, good. Actually, when he gave his wife and children, it looks like something is it is unwholesome, or he did not have a kindness or love toward them. But actually, when he did it as an ascetic practitioner. At the moment he was in the jungle, he was in the forest. One Brahmin came and asked him, his wife and children, you know who was he? He was the Devadatta in our Buddha's time. His name was Jujaka, and not only one time, several times it was happened. But at the moment he gave his wife and children, not just gave, he make some value of this, the value, I will say, if someone can give some amount of money to that person, they can take that lady back. He appointed something like that, and some agreement, some condition. With that condition, he gave his wife. This is not something can be done by one who has a very soft heart. But it doesn't mean the Bodhisatta's heart was very hard. His heart was very soft. But when it should done, he can do it with the permission of that person. As an example, the wife did not give the permission. If she does not allow this donation, he cannot do it. If the children do not allow this, agree with this, he cannot do that. But he did with their permission, because they already understood this is done because of some great determination, some great goal, for a great goal. So then, afterward, the parents of that children, the grandparent of that children, they gave that money, that amount of money to that Brahmin, and they saved that children. And also the wife also returned to the Bodhisatta back by the Sakra, by the god of Sakra. So here you can see, it seems like very unwholesome thing, or not something wise. But actually, whenever you have some attachment to something, it's very deep attachment, you cannot avoid it without donating. If you donate it, it means you can give up it. If you have to practice this letting go, you have to give up it without changing your mind. It's not easy thing to do, but the Bodhisatta has done it. It should be done only by one who is willing to become a Buddha, but the other Shravakas, they do not have to do this kind of things. But the Bodhisatta, the one who, the aspirant of Buddha, they had to do. So it is something is very difficult to understand how someone can do something like that, but it was happened. So I don't know whether can you agree with me or not, and can you understand this, and can you it's something does not sense, but I don't know how to explain more. But I think now we don't have much time. I think you can understand, because some situations, some things, obviously it unwholesome, it looks like unwholesome, but when you go deeper, it is not, we cannot say it is unwholesome. So here also something it's out of our range sometimes. Okay.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay.
So, Bhante,
Oh yes.
are there any sacrifices that we as lay person can do or should do in order for us to help us to attain to walk the path or to the liberation?
Yeah. Actually now even now you are doing some sacrifice. So when I came to Malaysia, I saw actually you are sacrificing a lot for development of this Sāsana in this country. I think this is the most valuable sacrifice, because if you protect the Sāsana, because our century, the name is Sāsanārakkha. Sāsanārakkha means protecting the Sāsana, the one who protects the Sāsana. So if you protect the Sāsana, that is the most important sacrifice we can do for the sake of liberation. Because we learned about something, how this Sāsana started. Sāsana means the message of the Buddha. The meaning of the Sāsana is the message of the Buddha. What is the message of the Buddha? Do your noble search. This is the message of the Buddha. If you protect this message, it means you are protecting the Sāsana. If you protect Dhamma, you protect the Sāsana. To protect Dhamma, you have to protect Sangha, because as lay people, it is difficult to protect this Dhamma practice. in your day-to-day life, but you can. But if you protect Sangha, it means you are protecting the Dhamma. It means you are protecting the Buddha's word, the Buddha's message. So this is the most important sacrifice that you can do. And also, when you are practicing your meditation practice, then also you can sacrifice so many things. You can sacrifice your comfortability. Sometimes you can sacrifice so many things. When you go to India for your pilgrimage, then you can see how much things you can sacrifice. You can sacrifice your time. You can sacrifice your kindness, your space, so many things. So I don't think if you do this sacrifice, it doesn't mean you should do like the Bodhisatta has done. Because he did that sacrifice because he haven't a teacher at the moment. He had to do because he was the only one that can be done. So he had to do that. But as disciples of the Buddha, we no need to follow all the breathingless meditations and those things. We have to follow the way what he explained to us. He expounded it us very much. So we have to follow that. We can sacrifice our night dinner for one day and observe 8 precepts. We can sacrifice something. It's not impossible, but we can do. If you sacrifice your one meal, you can have a very nice feeling of happiness. I think you might do these things, but if you do something, some sacrifice, something, and then you can be happy. But if you stop there, then you cannot achieve something furthermore. That is why the Buddha, when he did not satisfy until he go to his destination. So that's also a very important thing to keep in mind. So I think Dhamma practice is the most important sacrifice that you can do.
Bante, I have 2 questions. The first one is about the practice of austerity, that the picture that you show us, the Buddha, that he is so thin. So in that MN 85, this practice is called sacrifice, or is it's like a kind of a wrong practice that doesn't lead to the awakening.
That's right. Actually, that's right. That is why I already told you. When you think about that, if you think about who invented the bulb, Edison, Mr. Edison. Yeah. When Mr. Edison invented this bulb, he had to make a lot of bulbs, but they were not work properly until he invented the proper one. So if he did not do that investigation, that experiments, he will not be able to find out the proper bulb. So actually those all other bulbs were not valid. But if he did not spend his time on that investigation, that experiment, can he make the proper bulb one day? So he cannot make the proper bulb one day. And that, in that sense, we can say he sacrificed 999 times for one time become the progress, reach to the goal. So in that sense we can say, actually as you mentioned in Majjhima Nikaya 85, that sutta, Bodhiraja Kumara Sutta, the Buddha mentioned, this is not the path, this is wrong. Yeah, I agree, I do agree. I made it as a sacrifice. Actually, it makes us I will give you an example. If your parent did a lot of sacrifice to build up a house, they might do some other things. Sometimes they might lose some things, but we entirely call they sacrifice their life for our future. In that sense, we can say the Bodhisatta, if he did not do that, how can he make the clear path? Then we have to follow that ascetic practice until reach the proper practice. So he did it for us. He did it for us. Therefore, I call that is sacrifice.
I see. So, Bante, in this case, Bante call it sacrifice is on your personal
Yeah.
perspective. Am I right to yeah, because I agree with you that like I not to say agree. I have no objection about maybe the interpretation of the parents sacrifice something for the children. But when talk about the light bulb experiment of Thomas Edison, I do not see is a sacrifice because it can be because it is his interest and enthusiasm in what they call creation. The discovery of science, you see. So to him, he is not sacrificing anything. He's actually very enjoying in his pursuing his interest. Oh, sorry. Another thing is about Bodhisattva when he's Sumedha. Just now the Bante said he can become an Arahant, but he didn't. He postponed it until he become a Buddha that he can help more people. So Bante, that one is a Jataka story or is it a sutta in the discourse?
It's from Jataka stories. Yeah, it's from Jataka stories. I haven't seen in suttas this. Yeah, in Jataka stories.
Hi, Bante. Yeah, I'm just wondering, right? Like talking about the sacrifices, right? Are there anything that is there anything that we should not sacrifice?
Yeah, good question. Actually, we have to sacrifice according to our capability, according to our capacity. If we go to sacrifice without having some benefit for ourselves, it doesn't mean a wise thing. It's not a wise thing with intelligence. It's something is not so good. I will tell you. The Buddha said some people, there are 4 kinds of people actually in Anguttara Nikaya, books of 4th, you can see this sutta, but now I don't remember the number of the sutta. You can see some people, they sacrifice so many things, but the word sacrifice did not use in that sutta, but they are doing so many things for the benefit of others, but they don't pay attention for their own benefit. Some people, they do so many things for the benefit of themselves, but don't do something for the others. Some people don't do something for the others or something for either way. So some people, they do something for the others and also they do something for ourselves. So Buddha admired one who do something for ourselves and also as same as the others. Therefore, in that sense, it is better whenever you sacrifice something, keep in mind which kind of benefit, which kind of reaction, which kind of effect can be achieved by this sacrifice. If you can see something is beneficial for yourself and as well as the others, beneficial for others, then it is worthy to sacrifice. It is okay to sacrifice. But if you can see this is not something beneficial for yourself and also this is not beneficial for others, I think this kind of sacrifice you should not do.
Okay, Bhante, I also have one question. It's two parts. So I'm going to ask the first question. Okay. What can we do to become as determined to reach Nibbana as the Buddha was? I mean, what can we do to become as determined as Buddha to reach the Nibbana? That's my first question.
One thing came to my mind. One day when one monk approached to Ajahn Chah, I think you have heard about Ajahn Chah. He asked about Ajahn Chah. He asked, Bhante, I want to reach Nibbana as soon as possible. I also made the determination as the Buddha did. So I would like to make my determination like I said to you before, let my skin and sinews and bones remain, and let the flesh and blood dry up in my body, and this kind of determination. I should do this determination. Bhante, I am going to do this. So he seriously approached to his teacher, the Ajahn Chah, and he said to him. And at the moment, the most venerable Ajahn Chah gave a very nice simile. He told, I think you already heard that. Anyway, he told that monk, the Buddha's car was a big one. It can be, by that car, he could reach his destination by one time by having this determination. But your car is not so big, your car is a very small one. So you have to develop your car first. Then you can make that determination. Otherwise, you will fall in trouble in the near future. So I think this advice was very important. Whenever you make some determination, please keep in mind, it is better to keep in mind which kind of capability that I have. I already mentioned that. So you can do determinations as Buddha did, but you have to be careful about your capacity and your capability. But you can develop your capacity by doing determination and achieving goal. Doing some determination and achieving goal. I will observe in Vesak Poya day, I will I will meditate for 5 hours or 6 hours. This kind of determination you can do. Then when you achieve that, you can be very happy. Then next time you can develop it. Oh, this time I will meditate for 10 hours. Then you can develop it and achieve your goal, then you can be happy. By this way, you have to develop your capacity, and then you can develop your determinations according to that, according to your capacity. I think it is better to keep in mind that. Otherwise, the Buddha's car is very strong one, very powerful one, but our cars, I don't know whether how much powerful. So I think it would be enough.
Thank you, Bhante. Okay, my second question is that nowadays there's so many distractions. YouTube, WhatsApp, So is our mind constantly being distracted by all this entertainment?
Yes.
So then how do I then motivate myself to read the Dhamma or to meditate when it's like outside my world, there's so many distractions? Bhante, please help.
So this kind of obstructive things, when we think about this, we think usually we think this kind of YouTube and WhatsApp and these social medias and this kind of things, nowadays very obviously we can see. Then we think, these days these kind of things we make the obligations for our practice. But those days, the Buddha's time, there was no this kind of things. There what they could do. But I guess, actually, some kind of amount of these kind of things, we can see some increase. But all the time, the mind is the one thing we can protect. Because whenever you connect with internet or whenever you connect with these kind of social medias, you have to connect it to your eyes and your ears especially. You have to protect your eyes and ears. I don't think anything else we connect with those social medias. You have to protect your eyes and ears. Whenever you protect your eyes and ears, you have to protect your mind. Without protecting your mind, you cannot protect your eyes and ears. These are the sense doors. So when you protect your mind needs some happiness. Why you have to think why we are going to the YouTube, why we are going to WhatsApp, why we are doing those social entertainment. We need this entertainment because we cannot get this happiness within. That is why we are going to outside. If you can achieve this happiness by yourself, then you no need to go to those things. If you cannot achieve this happiness by yourself, we cannot avoid going to the outside for this, for searching for this happiness, because mind needs some happiness. Otherwise, how can mind survive? So try to give to the mind the happiness of reading Dhamma, the happiness of meditation, the happiness of associating Kalyana Mittas. This kind of good things gives you so much happiness. If you give the priority for this happiness, then the mind understands, oh, this is the way that I have to get happiness, not YouTube or not WhatsApp or other social media, because you already know those things give some entertainment, but only for few minutes. It's very temporary and it's very low things. It's very low. It's not something higher. It's not something expensive. I mean here expensive mean not valuable. It's in one sense it's very cheap. So if you would like to get some entertainment from those things, it means we always go into the ignoble search. But if you can be happy by listening to Dhamma, that happiness is very expensive. That happiness is very valuable. If you give that valuable happiness to your mind, then the mind become more happy. If the mind is happy, then you can guard your ears and eyes and ears. So by these two gates, we are going to the, not only you, but also all of us nowadays. It's something, as you mentioned, it's some common obstructive thing. But we have to protect not the outside, but the inside. If we can protect our inside, then we can protect ourselves, this happiness. By protecting our happiness, I think you can be happy about this opportunity, because we have got this Dhamma. We can listen to Dhamma, we can read Dhamma. This is the best opportunity that we have got. Time to time, if you associate good friend, then they can encourage you. If you associate friends, those who are having entertainment, having pleasure from those things, only WhatsApp and only social medias and YouTube, then you have to go to that tube. So if you associate those who are not enjoying that tube, then you will be free from YouTubes. and other things. Otherwise you cannot be free from those things. Always you go towards them. So I would like to wish you good luck.
I've got a question. After listening to your Dhamma just now, Buddha also have got several teachers and he moved on and until he achieved his goal. So is it wrong or right if you feel that you're not comfortable with a spiritual teacher and move on? How do you gauge that you're making the right decision by moving away, like what Buddha actually also did? Like he said, oh, he's not getting what he's supposed to get, so he moved on. So similarly, how do we gauge ourselves that, oh, probably we are not so comfortable or we don't engage with this teacher, so we moved on? So can we feel bad about it? Like, is it me? Or should I be more patient? Should I try to understand? That kind of thing. Or you just know that you can't engage, and then probably you're not comfortable, and then we moved on. What is the basis of this kind of thing? Feeling.
That's a good question. In the Buddha's time, this also happened to some monks. When they associate with their teachers, they cannot be satisfied with their teachers' teachings. The teachers mean some monks also, some other elder monks. But they could not satisfy, and they could not confidence with their teachers' teachings. Then the Buddha said, if you cannot be satisfied with their teachers, first you have to understand why you are thinking so. Because when you make a decision, you have to be careful. The decision should be made by the wisdom, not by the defilements. If you leave your teacher because of your defilement, hearing to your defilements, it is not okay, it is not good thing to do. But if you can understand, as you mentioned, you can be patient in the first time when you think, oh, I cannot be comfortable with the teacher, how can I be here? And then you can be more patient and pay attention. What does that teacher say? If that teacher says something is not related to Dhamma, it's not leads to the liberation, if something is not, we cannot be satisfied and we cannot be confident about towards the Buddha's Dhamma, the real Dhamma, then you have to move. But if you can hear the proper Dhamma, and then even though you feel some uncomfortable, first you have to wait and be patient and try to stay with that teacher. If you have good confidence about your teacher, then you can directly ask him, Bhante, Bhante or some other teacher, then you can ask, I have this kind of problem, what can I do? Because usually good teachers, they know what kind of mental stones going on their disciples' minds. So then they can consider, oh, this kind of thing is going on, then they will give you some treatment. The same thing we can see when you go to get some medicine from a doctor. Several times you go, but your disease is still going on, then you have to change your doctor. The same thing, we are having some medicine for our mental disease. Actually, everybody has some mental disease. So we are practicing this Dhamma to get rid of this uncomfortable mental state, so unwholesome mental state. So then time to time, sometimes We have to change our teachers. But I think, as the Bodhisatta did, whenever you go to a doctor, I will give the simile. When you go to a doctor, if doctor gives some medicine, whenever you stay with that doctor, it is better to have that medicine as he mentioned properly. But then after a few days or few time, if you can understand, oh, this is not a good medicine for my body, if you don't have confidence, then you can ask, and then if you can, even though you cannot confidence with that doctor, it is better to leave. But when you leave, you already understood what is his medicine. Otherwise, you have to come back to that place again. If you leave that monastery, I'm giving my personal opinion. I'm not giving something by the sutta, because in Vinaya, I told you, in Vinaya the Buddha said, if some monk has some bad behavior and the other monks staying under him, then if they can understand this is not good, this is not according to Vinaya, then they can leave the monastery, no problem. Even in Vassa, during the Vassa, usually we don't go outside, but even during in the Vassa, we can leave the monastery out of safety. So to protect our holy life. That is from Vinaya. But I would like to explain my personal idea. If you go to a doctor, until here I mentioned, I mean from a doctor, a teacher, actually a teacher. If you go to one teacher, it is better to stay until understand. If you have some confidence, otherwise you do not stay there. You have to leave that place. If you stay there, it is better to cover that course. Cover if your teacher in that place something teaches. If in that place that teacher something teaches, it is better to learn that properly. And then you can realize, oh, this is not good. Then you can say, I cannot satisfy with this, and then I am leaving. Then when you left that place, you no need to come back and do again an experiment. Otherwise, you go somewhere and do sometime, practice sometime, then you think, oh, this is not good. Then you go to another place and then there also do something, practice something, and it is not comfortable. Then you go to another place and go and here and there. Then you will be very confused. But if you go someplace, if you leave someplace, it is better to cover and make a conclusion. Oh, this is not something I have to stay. But to make decision in this kind of situation is not easy. I can understand it is not easy. When you make a decision, it is better to think one time, 2 times, 3 times. Enough? No. Several times, 1,000 times, it is better to think. And also it is better to ask someone has more experience. And if you can associate someone more experienced monk, especially in monks, among monks we have good experienced monk, then we can ask some monks. And even in lay society, you can ask someone, some elder, some experienced person, this kind of situation, which kind of thing, what can I do? So whenever you go to make a decision, it is better to think a lot. It doesn't mean you should make your mind more confused, but it is better to keep in mind the decision should be made by wisdom, not by your defilement. Otherwise, you will be lost a good teacher to go to make a decision with your defilement. Be patient and also think about the Buddha's teaching, the essence of the Buddha's teaching. Then if you can understand, oh, this is it's not mixed and it's not matched with the ideal teaching, then you can leave the place. I think it is very practical question.